Today I'm going to take you through a brief overview of ActiveWorkspace 2.0. ActiveWorkspace is an HTML5 application, runs completely within a web browser with no plugins or installations at all. Today I'm connected to our cloud server, and I'm going to log in and walk through a couple of scenarios. The first thing you come to in ActiveWorkspace is the gateway. This is our place where we'll start to have more and more capabilities and actions, and you'll be able to pin your own objects and things to the gateway as shortcuts. Let's suppose my boss gives me a call and says, "Hey Dave, I need you to find that motor drive that's in the hard drive assembly, the one Dan's working on. It's on hold or something and it's holding up the project. Can you go find it and see who's got it and get it moving again?" Okay, I heard a couple of words there, so let me just start putting in what I heard and see what ActiveWorkspace can find for me. As I start typing in words, you notice the suggestions come back and give me some words it found that match, so to kind of help me get into the right place and know that I'm searching for the right thing. As I do that, ActiveWorkspace will go out and come back and find me pretty much everything it has that has those two words in it. It indexes all metadata, properties, and content. If I don't have a direct hit like a part number, it gives me a quick breakdown of what it found. Found some parts, found some Word files, some PDFs, even a couple of problem reports out there. And to kind of narrow down my search, I'm just going to drill through that chart like I might do with a graphing or charting program. Here I now see it broken down by owners. I can use the breadcrumb at the top to kind of walk back and forward if I want, or drill down through the chart to find the thing I want. So he said it was one that Dan's working on, so I went ahead and filtered on Dan, and now I see that I've got just one item that's at a pending state, and the others aren't even released yet. So that's probably the guy I need to go find. What those filters are doing is those charts are really just walking down the filter list. So you remember I clicked on type and then owner. So I could also just open the filter panel and manipulate them here directly in any order I want. For instance, if I unselect Dan, I get a list back by all the owners. I could kind of jump up and down the list. So you got a couple different ways to kind of get to the data you want, as well as manipulating the breadcrumb directly without even using the filter panel. So now I've gotten down to what I think is probably the part I need. I'm going to open that part up. In ActiveWorkspace, there's no application. So you notice here, I'm really not in any particular place. I've just opened my motor drive, and I'm looking at its content. So the tabs you see across the top, from Overview and Viewer and Where Used, those are smart. They appear only when there's some content there to show you. So you don't hunt for things looking at empty places only to find out there's nothing there. So does this part have something viewable to look at? Well, yeah, it does. There's a Viewer tab. So I click on that. This is using our streaming visualization. There's no installation on the client at all. This runs on any HTML5 device. It's all done by picture slinging, and no installation on the clients at all. The Where Used tab tells me that this part must be in an assembly. And I can just kind of read across the tabs. So if you can kind of read the tabs, you can kind of figure out what's where. So I want to find out who's got this stuck in the workflow. And workflow tag gives me a quick kind of diagram of where it's moving through the process. So this is our typical design process that moves through design review and then validation. And I'll just kind of open up my info panel and poke around a little bit to see where it's been sitting and how long it's been there. So the prepare got done a while ago, and right now it's sitting at the review design. So I can see here from the list that Dan and Dave have signed it off, and it looks like Mike still got it. So pretty quickly I know who's got it. I'll give him a quick call and see what we can do to kind of get that thing moving. Another way to kind of look at parts in context of what they go to is use the relations browser. And so this brings me the motor drive I'm looking at, but lets me kind of navigate through other things that it's connected to. So I can see right away it has some things it's tied to. It's tied to some upper level assemblies. It's got a couple of past problem reports and change orders against it. And I can start to work through that structure to kind of see what they're related to. And again, the info panel lets me kind of quickly poke around and find the thing I'm interested or trying to work on. I can continue up that tree further, just working my way up the assembly structure and tree. Here now I see some requirements. So individual requirements are linked to the motor drive itself, and I can easily see their content. Now these are stored in a rich text format, but the panel here on the right brings out the simplified kind of brief text of it, so I can quickly understand what requirements I need to be meeting from my design. I don't really know how they make requirements, but I just know that they're connected and I can read them. If I open up that requirement, individual requirement then, just like the 3D file, it has some content I can look at, but it also shows me that it's part of a larger requirement specification. So here, the system is rendering the entire requirement specification. This is a large number of requirements that together make up our spec. And that comes up in a PDF viewer. It's rendered in real time on the server and displayed to the client, so it's always up to date. And even though I'm looking at one particular element buried within the specification, it brings that spec up and puts me kind of in context where I am, so I can understand not only this requirement, but kind of how it relates to the overall set of requirements. Now, suppose I see something wrong. Maybe there's something we should change on there, and I want to post a problem report against this to have the team look at and see if we should change some of the specifications. So the right side is where I perform actions, and I'm going to just go ahead and create a change or a problem report against this. Because I'm sitting on the requirement, any work I do is always done in context. So I'm creating a problem report, and obviously it's against the requirement I'm looking at. I don't need to navigate and create it and then go find things and stitch them up. It just kind of lets me work in context of what I'm thinking about right where I'm doing it. So I'll just put a couple comments here that maybe we should update the downtime. A couple of suggestions on how to do that, and I'll go ahead and create that problem report. So that is our standard process for how we document and communicate things. That'll create the problem report for me, and the requirement that I started from then is going to be automatically attached to it. So here's the requirement already connected correctly. I don't really need to know how a problem report works with a requirement. I just know that if I make the problem report, it'll work for me. So I've got kind of what I want to put in there, and I'll send it through our standard process here for the design team to review with a couple of notes and send it on its way. Again, because I'm launching the workflow here from the problem report itself, that's what's going to get sent through the workflow onto the rest of the team. Now let's go take a look at our inbox and see how that might appear to somebody who receives a workflow. So in the inbox, rather than having a breakdown that shows the different part type or owner, a more useful breakdown is by due date. So I can see at a quick glance whether I have something that's past due coming up this week or next week and kind of see what's ahead of me. I'm going to go ahead and select sign-off team task here. This is a task for me to go ahead and pick the rest of the team that's going to work on it. You notice the layout is kind of similar to what we saw before. In the middle, I see an overview kind of breakdown of what's in the task. The attached problem report or ECR there is right in front of me. And on the right side, I perform my action. So here I'm selecting the users to have in that sign-off team. And I've got a kind of a fast search that runs through the whole user database. I just type in a couple of words I know to find that person and can easily add them to the list, and together then throw in a couple of people to make it work. So it's very simple and easy. I know there's somewhere in the organization I can pick by name or by group or department or whatever, and it'll find them for me. A task that has something to review comes in similar. Again, I see the instructions, the due date, who it's for. I've got a tab to easily see any other reviewers and what their comments were, what they signed off. If I want to look at the design that I'm reviewing, I just open that. So it works kind of like email. The package comes to me in just a simple envelope of a task. I'd open the thing that I'm reviewing and look at it, and I just walk across it like I did earlier. Again, here I can use the viewer. Now, this particular part, I see that it also has an icon on the right side for product manufacturing information. So this model has some dimension and tolerance information on it that will show up here in the viewer as well. So somebody in manufacturing or another place in design could actually look at that and review some of that information right here in the browser without any installed client. These PMI information are created in the CAD tool and then translated out to the neutral viewable file and then captured in that as it's viewed by the other participants. So as I go back to my inbox, again, the actions I want to do on something are on the right, so I'm going to use the perform button on the right to sign off on that. And it looks good to me. I'll make a quick comment and go ahead and sign that off.